Everyone has experienced the feeling of when you come to terms with the fact that one of your favorite characters in a show is just a fraud. It's a horrible feeling. I'll never forget when I saw Shisui's eye get taken by Danzo, and I thought to myself, damn, they're really doing this right now? Or literally any time I've seen Usopp on screen for the last couple of years. And on a completely unrelated note, please give Usopp a buff. They're fighting Satan's greatest soldiers, and this motherfucker is still shooting beans and shit. We need help. It's hard watching characters we really liked and thought were going to go really far just become bums due to poor writing. And it happens in everything. TV shows, anime, games, movies. I guarantee you all have that one character in your head that you're just like, why'd they massacre my boy like that? For me personally, it's always been Rock Lee. I cannot explain to you how upset I was while watching Shippuden and realizing that every single ninja except Naruto and Sasuke became useless. It sucks so much because in part 1 of Naruto, this was literally the GOAT. You need someone to humble Sasuke? You call Lee. You need someone to beef with this quiet kid before he pulls something scary out of his gourd? You call Lee. Need someone to clutch up the Sasuke retrieval mission literally right off the operating table? You call Rock fucking Lee. And then look at what they did to my GOAT. Genuinely, if I got cheated on, I think it would have hurt less than watching what happened to Lee. We've talked a lot about bad character writing and bad character deaths, but today we're going to be looking at what happens when a character just ceases to exist but stays on screen. Today we're going to be talking about the ultimate drawback with writing a story with a lot of characters is that realistically, it's gonna be impossible to fully flesh out everybody and give them opportunities to shine. Oftentimes, writers just resort to not giving them too much shine or context because then they don't necessarily have any potential to waste. They're just extras. But a character with wasted potential is different. Oftentimes, these kinds of characters are given lots of context and shine, and sometimes they're even main characters in a story, but their potential gets squandered. And I think the perfect example of what I'm talking about right now is Usopp. Usopp is one of my favorite characters in One Piece. He's not the favorite character, because Jinbei exists, but he's definitely in my top 8. Unfortunately though, despite how cool his character is and his status as being a member of the main pirate crew of the show, nothing really happened with his character. Post time skip, going by the manga, there have been 10 separate arcs of One Piece. These are stories spanning real life years, a bunch of different settings, villains, and characters, and yet the one constant is that the Straw Hats will be fighting Iblis from Sonic 06, and Usopp will still be shooting beans at him. And no, obviously fighting ability isn't the indicator of potential, but it's certainly an aspect of it. But it's not even just the fighting ability that I'm talking about. The things that bother me about Usopp are really summed up during Wano, when he did nothing except sell frogs on the sidewalk or whatever he was doing. Typically in every arc, not everyone gets the chance to have a shining moment, but at least everyone on the Straw Hats will have a cool clip. So tell me why the entirety of Wano is just Usopp doing nothing. And yes, I know you guys are gonna be like, oh, but he beat Page 1. But why are you claiming that? Nobody even knows who Page 1 is. Usopp is a really good example of how main characters get lost in the span of a story. And I've talked about Neji and other characters in other videos, but they weren't main characters. Usopp is. And it sucks to see because I don't know why this is happening to Usopp specifically. It doesn't even make sense even if it was like a combat ability thing, and even if it was, Monkey, you're writing the story, just give him a buff. There are 10 members on the Straw Hat crew. 4 out of those 10 are borderline useless in a fight, and yet 3 of those 4 still get really deep moments to show off their potential and how cool they are. Usopp gets beans. He gets beans. Is Oda racist? Another interesting example of main characters having their potential fumbled is Netflix's Iron Fist. You guys might not know this, but I'm actually a very big fan of Iron Fist. I'm not gonna act like I'm up here reading all the Iron Fist comics, but when he shows up, I'm very excited. And then the show came out, and I was watching it, and I was hoping I would be assassinated. Netflix's Iron Fist might actually be the most boring and tedious thing I've ever watched in my entire life. It's one of the few times in my life where I was watching a show, and while I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, man, I need a job. The show's dialogue is not interesting. The characters aren't interesting. I was kind of lost on the story too. Even the fight scenes, which like, his name is Iron Fist. The fight scenes should have been amazing, and I was struggling to get through them. I was so unbelievably surprised by how bad the show was all around, especially when this is the same company that produced Daredevil seasons 1 through 3, which genuinely is probably top 3 pieces of Marvel media ever. I was so disappointed by how the show wasted the potential of Iron Fist on a live-action screen, especially because as far as heroes go, he's not as popular as the other one. So to watch what really felt like at times a YouTube Red series was extremely difficult. If you guys thought I wasn't going to talk about wasted potential characters in games, you would be very wrong. There are a few games where I feel like characters were being prematurely killed off and not being used to their full potential. And my top 2, and they're not 2, are Krista and Omid from The Walking Dead Season 2. We meet Krista and Omid during Walking Dead Season 1, where Krista tries to call CPS on Lee, so we didn't have a great start.
I hope you know what you're doing with her.
Bitch, you ain't CPS?
Krista and Omid were really interesting characters that I actually liked, even though I was kind of forced into hanging out with them because, well, the rest of the group got slimed out. And my expectation upon starting Season 2 was that I would hang out with Krista and Omid for pretty much the whole game. And yet, Omid gets killed by Stock Marauder number 3 for no reason. This really bothered me, by the way, but I gotta give Michelle credit for being so quick on the draw. She had max Deadeye. Okay, so 10 minutes into the game and Omid is already dead. It's a big loss because he was well liked and had a lot of room to grow if he stayed alive, but whatever. Okay, now we're with Krista. We get to see her change into a new person after the death of Omid. Oh, actually, never mind. We get to see her get off-screened and then never heard from again. Krista and Omid's death is the clearest example of what I mean when I talk about characters with wasted potential. These were characters that were pretty cool and helpful when we met them, but they were still side characters, so we didn't get to see everything. And killing both of them, one after the other, on some bullshit, without even giving them a chance to breathe, was very disheartening. We shouldn't think that games have any kind of different techniques in terms of their writing from a show or a movie. More often than not, they have the exact same writing styles, and they have the exact same problems. Neji getting hit by a tree has no real difference to Omid getting quickscope. I am very sick and tired of getting attached to characters only for them to get wasted. I don't want to keep watching characters go crazy early on in their appearances, only for them to do nothing for the rest of the series. It is depressing. I just really need writers to stop wasting potential.